Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hezbon Siricha, and I hope you are doing great. Okay, this is our first lesson, and we are going to cover about the introduction to agriculture. So the name of this unit is crop production, and these are the lesson objectives of the day that you, the trainee, at the end of the session, that you are going to define, of course, some terms related to agriculture. You're also going to describe the history, explain the role of agriculture in the economy, and finally, we are going to outline, the problems that face agriculture in the Kenyan sector. Okay, so when we start, so when we talk of agriculture, you see that this is both an art and a science. And when we talk of an art, I know you are aware of what an art is. Remember that an art, this is a subjective or a imprecise skill, something technical, something that you do using your own hands. And when you talk of a science, that means that agriculture has gone through research. It has been measured, and you see that there was an objective, of course, when we talk of it being as a science. So as an art, we see that this involves tilling of land, construction of farm structures, machine operations, harvesting of crops, and marketing of agricultural produce. And as a science, I explain that it is a science because this is something that has gone through research, it has been measured, and there was an objective that was to be met. And we see that this involves the crop pathology, the agricultural engineering, the entomology, the soil science, and genetics. So don't worry about these terms. We are going to discuss them in length in our next lesson. I also say that we are also going to cover about the history of agriculture. So can we have someone to take us through the history of agriculture? Pauline, take us through the history of agriculture. Alex.
Okay, so I'll take you through the history of agriculture as it has been displayed. The early human beings were fruit gatherers and hunters. They also ate the fruits and seeds of certain plants. However, human beings lived on earth for many years before they began the practice in agriculture. It is believed that human beings began to plant their own crops instead of simply gathering fruits about 9,000 BC. The earliest crops they grew were cereals such as wheat, barley, sorghum, and millet. Over many countries, both crops and animals became dependent on human beings for their existence in a process known as domestication. Human beings cultivated fields for the purpose of producing crops. For their needs, producing a crop involved not just for cultivation, but planting the crop, caring for it until it's harvested, and storing it before it's eaten or sold.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I've seen that in a nutshell that human beings initially they were hunters and fruit gatherers, and you see that they lived many years on earth when they were practicing this state of agriculture. And we have also seen that the earliest crops they were wheat, millet, barley, so on and so forth. And we see that some animals and also the crops that they were growing, they were at the merge, or they dependent on the human beings for their own domestication. Okay, so we have also seen that when we talk of agriculture, this is also involves producing a crop, and not only on cultivation, but planting, caring it, up the process whereby you harvest your crop. Maybe you can decide to sell or eat, or store it for future. Alright, so I'll send you the notes later. So we also have a role of agriculture in the economy. So what are some of the roles of agriculture in the economy? Can we have a contribution of the same? Joy, or somebody take us through. Just give us a point and explain it in your own terms that you'll be able to understand. Pauline, anybody?
Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
Agriculture is the backbone of the economy. It contributes to 33% of Kenya gross domestic product. The agriculture sector employs more than 40% of total population and 70% of rural population. And on food, maybe, and water, I can say agriculture helps farmers and agriculture enterprises to continue to improve their nutrition outcomes, strengthen county government capacities, increase resilience, build sustainable market system for both private and public sectors. That's what I can say.
Okay, thank you. So as per what you have given us, I've seen you have covered most of what we are going to cover on the role of agriculture in the economy. For instance, we see that it's a source of employment. You have just told us that about 40% or something. This is this is a population margin whereby have been employed through agriculture. Another role, we see that when you talk of foreign exchange, this is also evident because we import, we also export, agricultural produce, and through this we get something known as foreign exchange. That means that currency is earned, like we buy using dollars or through the international currencies, euros, so on and so forth. Okay, we also have food supply. You see that most of the people who live in urban areas, they rely on their friends or their folks who are in the rural areas for their supplies. Another role is that it is a source of raw material for industries. For instance, we can have industries like tea factories, the maize mills. Of course, these companies, they depend on agriculture, their produce, and that's where they get their raw materials. For instance, we have those companies in the Western Kenya whereby they rely on farmers, like they get sugar cane. Like for instance, we have the Mumia, the Nzoia, such like companies, the leather, milk processing industries, KCC, and so on and so forth. Okay, we also have the provision of market for industries, and I think this is self-explanatory. So the next thing that you are also supposed to cover is on the problems which are faced on agricultural sector. Of course, when something is good, there must be some demerits or some issues that affect it. So can we have maybe someone explain to us some of the problems that are faced? Yes, Doreen. Just unmute your mic. Alex.
Okay, so let's check. Let's go through the problems facing agriculture in Kenya. So we have a very wide range of problems that are facing agriculture, especially in Kenya as a developing country. And the main challenge we now have, not possibly in Kenya right now, but now let's focus on Kenya. For example, the climate change, it's actually affecting a broad range of countries, but now let's draw it down to Kenya. So we'll find the effects of climate change have been felt mostly by the farmers, especially due to dependence on rain-fed agriculture. Then you will find poor infrastructure. Most produce don't get to the market early. So you'll find there's a very poor infrastructure. Like you find farmers who don't even sell the produce in good time because some will go bad before even they reach to the market. And then you find lack of capital to start this farming practice. So I think those are the main effects or problems that face agriculture in Kenya. So we have a lot that which we are going to share. Maybe we will read wide about the same.
Okay, thank you. We also have the lack of capital. Of course, for instance, we have credit facilities, like the banks, they require collaterals. For instance, if you have a car, you need to have that logbook so that you can get access to loans. So this is also another issue that is affecting the Kenyan agricultural sector. We also have pests and diseases. Yeah. And you see that this has led to loss to many farmers. We also have obsolete technology. For instance, in Kericho, the point that I was trying to bring through, you see that in Kericho, people or in other highland areas, you see that people are using, the traditional technology, whereby we have the machineries, and you can, when you use machineries, you see that we have quality and standard work, and this has been an issue in Kenyan agricultural sector because many people and many companies, they are using technology which is obsolete. We also have pure crop and animal husbandry. So many seeds or people don't have that practice, or they don't have that knowledge how to cultivate the land, how to store their produce, so on and so forth. So there are many others, of course, when we talk of these problems. So you'll be able to, I'll create a discussion forum whereby we'll be able to share on the same. Okay, so we have come to the end of our lesson. So maybe if we can get an overview of what you have learned today. So what have you learned today? Yes, kindly, what have you learned? Okay, so this will be your assignment of the day. You'll be able to submit this before this date to my email, and I think this date, okay, so this is supposed to be 31st. We make it to be 31st of March. That's on next Friday. Make sure you submit this to my email, and this question will be, we are supposed to explain the future development of agriculture. This, of course, is substitute to your Cat 1 marks. Okay, so I wish you a nice evening. I'll be able to send you the notes to your group. Thank you.